Welcome to Live Life Creative. I'm Dylan. Thanks for spending some time with me today. This is the third in a series of episodes that I'm doing based on my experience photographing events here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. What I learned, how it can help you when you find yourself in similar situations. I finally figured out how to pronounce similar. I looked that one up. And this is something that I hope will help you take better photographs. Now, if you're a longer-ish time listener of Live Life Creative, it wasn't so heavily photo focused. I've decided to take a change in direction in the podcast. I don't know if I'm going to change the name yet. I really like the name Live Life Creative, but it seems less appropriate. Not sure what I'm going to do there, but I would love to have your feedback. Do you think Live Life Creative still fits as a name and a brand idea for this kind of more photography-based, specifically photography-based podcast? Or if you think I need to just kind of restart, reset, do a whole new brand name type thing or whatever, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. You can send me a message on Instagram. That's at Live Life Creative Podcast, at least for now, depending on the whole naming thing. Or you can send me an email through the website, livelifecreativepodcast.xyz. Love to hear your thoughts. I'm not really sure where to go. This is a whole growing thing for me too. So this is a way that I guess you could be a part of it. That'd be pretty cool, right? So today's event that I'm talking about, this was another Yelp event. Yelp, the website, they have local events around the country, but here specifically, I'm talking about Grand Rapids. This is for Yelpers who do a certain amount of reviews and things. They get a special treat to have these events at restaurants, get some free food. I think they paid for drinks for this one, but that might just be me. It's pretty good food. I really enjoyed it. There's a pizza buffet. So how can you go wrong with a pizza buffet? That's awesome, right? So when I walked into Atwater, a brewery, that is, I have to be very careful when I pronounce that or else I get it wrong. This is a great kind of, brewery. They've got like kind of pub food, pizza, obviously. They have some really delicious looking tacos. They had vegan buffalo wings, vegan something that looked really good. And I didn't get a chance to eat any of those. I had a few slices of pizza, but they had a lot of great food and I really enjoyed it. The parts of it that I actually got to eat. So the last sort of what I learned episode at Greenwell, talked about that last episode. Very dark restaurant. So I was a little nervous coming into Atwater, what it's going to be like. I was really pleasantly subscribed. I was really pleasantly surprised because this room that they're in, kind of a back room, great natural light, amazing natural light. Two of the walls that met in a corner, one of the corners, both of those walls were just floor to ceiling windows. It was beautiful. I think this one was in March, maybe, so a little bit later in the year than the Greenwell. So the light lasted longer into the evening. This event went something like 6:30 to 8:30, something like that. So this entire event happened during sunset, which was amazing. And you can definitely tell from the photographs that I took during it. It looked really, really cool. The room itself, pretty ordinary. The back wall had a projector screen that was pulled down. There's extra supplies piled up. I'm not sure if those were like bags of hops for the brewery or whatever. Just extra chairs, a ladder stored there. So not the most photogenic setting, at least that end of the room. I had to shoot around a bit to keep the shots clean. When I pointed that direction, zoomed in more so you couldn't really tell what was behind them. It was a little bit tough that way. I got a tip from this guy named Taylor Jackson. He's mostly does YouTube. Well, he's mostly a wedding photographer primarily as a job. He does a lot of YouTube videos and some of them are really funny. So this is going to be like my pick of the week, or my tip is to go check out Taylor Jackson on YouTube. He just does like these ridiculous YouTube videos. I got a tip from him that he shoots in shade white balance to help keep those warm tones in the picture. So I tried that. Obviously, with white balance, when you're shooting in RAW, you should shoot in RAW unless you have a compelling reason to shoot in JPEG. You can always change white balance later when you're processing images. But if you start pretty warm and then dial it back, you'll tend to keep it warm anyway, which looks pretty good for most skin tones. And it did turn out pretty nice for me, especially with the sun setting during the event. That light came through the windows. I loved it. Ended up with pretty good skin tones and kind of with this warm glow feeling to the photos that I really enjoyed that a lot. There is this pizza buffet, like I was talking about. So I stood at one end of the table and I just put the camera in live, and got kind of low, got these portrait orientation shots of the pizza and the people just kind of chatting and taking their slices. That was pretty tasty looking, tasty shots, literally. So they had a lot of different food. And with the really good window light, I had a lot of really good food shots. I really enjoyed that a lot. Detail shots of the individual plates. There's groups of the kinds of shots I took with those detail shots and groups of food and drinks with people in the background. Those look really nice because they're kind of more lifestyle-y. If you're taking photos for social media for a restaurant, those work really great because the focus is on the food and the drink. But you've got people in the background. There's things going on. There's like a bit of a party feeling. And that's what restaurants often want to bring to their social media channels, is this feeling of good times, having a party, going out and having fun. And so those are really good. And then, shots of people holding food and drinks and laughing and smiling. I really try to get laughing, happy people in my shots for events, because that's also what the event organizers want to see from all of their events, is people having a good time, so that when they use those photos later to promote their next event, that, helps encourage people like, hey, if I go to this thing, I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to have a good time. I won't be disappointed by going. For this particular event, I had to stand on one side of the room, actually the side opposite from the projector, which is pretty unfortunate because I really had to dodge around that projector a lot. And I was really limited in my angle of view from that side of the room. So I had to kind of like shoot between people's heads a little bit. I had to kind of, work my way around and try to see what I could get. Mostly use the Tamron 24-70, and that's a really good lens, f2.8 lens. That worked really well. I did pull out my 70-210. I know that's kind of a weird focal range. I talked about that a couple episodes back. That was too long, too telephoto for the size of the room it is. It was like a, 15 by 20 or 30 foot room. That was just too long of a lens, so I just switched back to the 24 and 70. That worked pretty well most of the time. I did go to kind of the back of the room where I was like kind of standing under the projector screen on the other side and trying to like shoot over people's shoulders a little bit. That really got me really close to the attendees, the Yelpers, and it was a little uncomfortable. I gotta say, it's a little uncomfortable. Not everybody enjoys being that close to the photographer or having somebody hovering right over their shoulder. I know I definitely don't like it when people like look over my shoulder. That's super annoying. So I didn't really do that too much, but I was trying to find ways. How can I change up the angle, right? How can I get a different kind of shot instead of like standing in one place the entire evening and just getting the same shot, just kind of rotating left to right? So it worked pretty well. Since this was my second or third Yelp event that I photographed, I've been getting to know the people a little bit, just getting to know their names pretty much, and having them already come to the event expecting me and already being comfortable with me. I think that helps a lot. Just having people used to the presence of our photographer. And, it gives me a chance to kind of joke around with them a little bit, which is fun on the one hand, and two, it just makes them more relaxed. You can get better smiling photos, and you want better smiling photos unless you're going for like, at least for events, that's what you do. If you want to like an artistic portrait, and then maybe you want like a really angry face or whatever you're looking for that. But in this situation, laughing, smiling, happy, that's what I'm looking for these. Mostly to get that kind of photo, I just stand back, give them some space. They should be interacting with each other more than interacting with me. I don't want to, really bug people too much about it, to get photos of them or whatever they're eating or drinking. So I just let them have their space and kind of let the situation develop, There are some pictures that I wanted to get that are so close to them that I did have to ask to take their picture or of their food or drink or whatever. And I did get some pretty good ones. There's a few like, over the top, top down kind of photos of food that I wanted to get and really needed permission to get those photos because, that's somebody's plate that they're eating off of. I didn't take pictures after they have eaten off it. I got it before they started eating, but I did have to ask permission for that kind of thing. For this event, Katie, the Yelp organizer who does all of these events, she's the community ambassador or something like that she works for Yelp. She had somebody come in and a guide to do music bingo. So this was pretty cool. So it's like music trivia bingo. Each person got a bingo card, and in each of the spaces was the name of a song and the artist too, I think. So he would play, 10 seconds, 30 seconds of a song, and then you had to like guess what the song was. And there were pretty obvious songs, like you could probably get it pretty easily. And then whoever got a bingo, 5 in a row, I think it is, then you just stand up like, I got a bingo. So that was pretty fun. The MC for the game, he's really dynamic. He was a fun guy. He said he was like usually pretty introverted, kind of laid back, but for when he was MCing the thing, like he was really engaging with people. He's pretty funny. There's a few times he would just start doing these dances in the little bit of space that he had. And he's like, that's pretty cool. So I got some pictures of him, and he really, brought up the energy level. He did a really great job. I did have to be pretty quick to get onto those shots there of him dancing or interacting with the people. I got some really good ones. And again, with the amazing sunset, natural light coming through the windows, loved it. It looked really, really good. All these photos from this event were a good time. Eventually, I did have to bring out the flash for this event. Just the light was getting dimmer and dimmer, of course, with the sun setting. So I did have to try to bounce it off of things. The ceiling was not optimal this time for bouncing flash off it. It was like this gold reflective kind of material on it. So I totally avoided that. There was the walls themselves were pretty white. They were a little bit off color, but I think it worked out all right to be able to use them, but it was pretty necessary. I did have to get up a little bit in ISO towards the end. I think I ended up at 1600 where I like to stay at. So that part was all right. It looked fine, looked pretty natural still. So my big 2 tips from this event for you is 1, to take the tip from Taylor Jackson, try shooting entirely in shade white balance for an event or something, and then see how the photos come out looking with that, and see how you might be processing them differently based on the starting point of having the shade white balance and then having to dial it back. And maybe that's something that'll work out well for you. And secondly, my pick of the week is to check out Taylor Jackson on YouTube. He's very dry. He's very laid back, super chill. I like him a lot. I think he's really funny, and he's just not loud on the internet. He's not really hyper or anything, and I really appreciate that, because I think people can be too crazy, especially certain genres of YouTube. The people in them are just crazy insane, and that's not what I enjoy. Taylor Jackson, though, he's pretty cool. He has a few full wedding videos that he does. He mounts a GoPro on his camera so you can see his settings, you can see exactly what he's doing, and he will actually take you through the processing, the editing of the photos too, a lot of times. And he's got a lot of other different videos. Some of his funniest ones, he started creating these kind of low-ish budget music videos that he's written himself, and they're hilarious. One's talking about gear acquisition syndrome for photographers. Another one's all about pizza, loving pizza. And the opening shot of the pizza video, he's actually recreating an Adele song, I think, or some the opening shots of another famous music video. So I recommend checking out his stuff. I've learned stuff from him, is really enjoyable. And tell me what you think of the show, this new direction. I'd love to hear from you now that we're a few episodes into it. Bit of a track record. I want to kind of make sure I'm steering the ship in the right direction and making sure that the stuff that I'm putting out there for you to listen to is actually interesting for you to listen to. I don't know. I hope so. I enjoyed talking, so I hope you enjoyed listening to it. You can find show notes and the website, livelifecreativepodcast.xyz. You can send me a DM on Instagram or follow the show at Live Life Creative Podcast on Instagram. That's my main platform there. And I hope you enjoyed listening today. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I'm Dylan. This is Live Life Creative.